Hi guys, hope all is well. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these videos, so let's just crack into it. US dollar. So if we've all been following it, dollar's been bearish recently. High time frame, we are bullish, obviously. This is our high that we're broke, so we're just waiting to see if we can maybe potentially pull back into our 50% range to see if we could get some sort of repricing and then come into discount a little bit, and then maybe we can see kind of like this up move. Not to say that that can't happen at the moment. We are doing something a little bit different, which is fine. So now if we drop it down daily, if I'm going to be honest with you, again, nothing really too exciting. I'm still actually waiting for this daily demand to get filled at some point. We have an imbalance, and you can see this is where the market accumulated. You can see these are our runs. This is our spring break structure. Actually, this is a flip, and you can see just really waiting for price to come back down into this zone to see if we can actually maybe get some longs. But we will see. We do have a weekly zone, which is just in here. So maybe you could see that trade back up into this zone maybe, and then have that continuation low and just generate some more liquidity to then take out. But I'm still bearish. High time frame, weekly, daily, I'm bearish. But obviously more intermediate is a little bit of a different story, which is why it's really good to understand structure. So we have this zone down here, which I'm still expecting. Price didn't really come into anything, but we did actually create an accumulation, and then we started pushing up and we started to create equal highs. So again, if I drop this down, you can see really, really nice accumulation within here. We're generating liquidity. We have that move, take out all the lows, and then we have that pump. So here again, we're doing the same thing, generating liquidity in the form of lows. We start breaking down, mitigating out of our previous accumulation, then creating equal highs for us to then potentially take out. So again here, what can you see that's happened on the same basically same area, but just on a bigger scale? Exactly the same thing. We have another accumulation. So you can see these are lows getting taken. This is our final pocket of liquidity. We have that sell, and to then this is our continuous buy movements. So I said in a previous video, I'm only expecting to potentially look for longs if we do break this high at least, which is what we have had now. You can see this is kind of like this zone which caused this big sell to buy. So this is going to be the zone I'm going to be focusing on, and it's also the zone which caused this break of structure in here. So on a 4 hour, you can see I've got this whole major zone that I'm looking for. We have had an EMA cross again. I'd say it's every time. I never really trade them, but I do have them as just a slight confluence just to kind of see. So what is going to make this a little bit more confirmed for me is if we actually break these highs. Now, I want to see maybe like a close above, maybe like Monday, Tuesday, and then we can have that pullback into this zone just so the break structure is confirmed, and then we can maybe look for some longs. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what does happen. I'm only going to be looking to potentially take up into this zone if we actually really kind of break, but definitely still keeping an eye out for this zone for potential retracements going into next week. So potential longs against everything. So again, you can see just invertedly we have, well, we have our PSY and buying climax, we have that ST again, we have that UTAD, and then we have this UTAD test. And then what can we see in this overall distribution? Well, because it's flipped distribution, you can see another distribution was created to then test the higher one and to test the smaller one down here. So now we're just really waiting for this break, that pullback, and then that continuations. And as long as I'm getting some sort of move, which is going to be at least to my 50%. So here we can see 50%. This doesn't mean that before price actually does anything, we might actually pull back, maybe like up into the highs or something. So either way, this zone is still going to be within our 50%, and definitely for a good valid point for us to potentially be trading from anyway if we get the confirmation. So obviously dollar, because I'm using a high time frame, I'm going to be waiting for, where if and when price does come down into this zone, I do want to be seeing the exact same thing. I want to be seeing that raid, that breaker structure, and I'm just looking for the zone that caused that. This is going to be this zone, and then we can take it up a little bit higher. You can just see throughout this whole thing, it's just, I know some people don't really trade Wyckoff, and they don't really enjoy it. But if you can actually like understand Wyckoff, and it can actually be so simple, it can actually give you so many good benefits to when you're trading. So yeah, definitely if you're not really too sure on Wyckoff, I would definitely check it out. You don't really have to worry about the whole BC, AR, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. As long as you can just identify what is actually doing, and all it is just liquidations of breaker structures. You can see liquidation, breaker structure, new demand created. It's basically the same thing that you already know, just kind of putting it in a little bit of an easier concept, I think. So that's dollar. SP, if I'm going to be really honest with you, it's kind of like really ugly at the moment. We have liquidity in the form of lows and the highs. So I'm really just going to kind of sit and wait on my hands on this one. NAS, we are bullish. I definitely think we could come run and take this high, or even maybe just dig a little bit deeper into the zone in here, if I'm going to be honest. There's not really anything too amazing in this high that we could react from. We are bearish though, so but the one thing for me I don't like is we have this high and then price kind of just like rolled. So I'm definitely looking to see if we could potentially take out some of this zone, even if we just wick to the high. And then we started maybe headed back down. Overall, we're bullish. You can see we're bullish, creating high highs and high lows. Overall, our higher time frame. Let's check out. So you can see we are, well, let's go even back. Okay, so we're bullish until this point. Let's do it. So from this is your low, this is our high. I'm going to drag my 50% into this here. Okay, cool. So you can see we're bullish, and we've kind of first came in, create this first low, and from this low to this high, because we broke structure here, we want to see price coming into at least a 50%. So what's happened? We've come into discount, which is what we're looking for. So now what's going to confirm this at the moment is for the past, well, I mean, even to here, for like 390 days, we've been bearish. I know we have been bullish here, but if we're looking for the overall perspective, because when we're really looking at this, your low, this your lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So now, yes, we did kind of come into this zone, and some people say this is a break structure. For me, that's just more of a higher time frame, like change of character, because a change of character isn't a breaker structure. It's when you have intermediate structures and things are shifting. So this is our high and this is our low. So realistically, as long as if we break this high, then that's bullish, and then we look for pullbacks and continuations. If we just really raid it and then we actually start breaking some significant structures, i.e. meaning our daily lows within here, that's then when I'll look for a pullback kind of change, and then maybe that continuation. I do still have this zone for me as a major area that I could see price coming into. I thought we were going to come into it in here. We didn't get that. That's cool. It is what it is. Sometimes the price doesn't always do what we expect. But if we do start breaking these lows, what I do maybe potentially think is this could be acting as liquidity. We sweep everything and then we continue running higher. This for me is a major point of the market of supply and demand. You can see we've tested it, demand, supply, blah, blah, blah. So for price to actually come back into this zone and continue high is actually still kind of a valid area for us. So we're going to have to really wait and see. We do have a lot of highs on NAS in here, which haven't been raided. So that could be a potential target for us as well. For the here and now, though, we have a really, really nice break structure. So we have our low, high, 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 low, high, 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 low, high, high. Now, some people might be thinking, why haven't I used these or these? It's because when you look at the structure, this is your high, this is your high, low, this is your higher high, this is your confirmed breaker structure, this is your high, higher, low. Price did, in fact, pull back into the 50%. That's valid. What did we do around the 50% that you can see? literally happens every time. Accumulation. What's accumulation? It's just manipulating the lows, and then our break structure to the upside. Well, you could have even said this is your break, and even above here is your break to the upside. So now this has given us a confirmed area for us to actually be trading from. So what we could do is, I feel like a lot of people are going to be looking at this zone, and it's not wrong, to be honest with you, it's really not wrong. We could definitely like hold this zone and then continue. We do have some highs up here, which I was really expecting to get taken. I was expecting this move to be that thing, but it wasn't. But if we do have now, because we have our new Asian high and we have our London high, I do definitely think price could run that. And considering we have this zone here again, a lot of people, I think, are going to be looking at this break structure pullback continuation. That's fine. That technically is valid, but I don't really like taking zones like this if we do have liquidity in the top, because that happens and it's just really frustrating. So I do maybe think from the news, we did react from this zone. So now you could even drag this a little bit lower, and you could maybe refine this into 15-minute in here, and maybe potentially taking a long position from here wouldn't be shit, wouldn't be bad. You could have this as a risk reward, or you could have this as a trade, because this is the last point in the market where price, because like we hit the sell, then we came up with the buy, price then came in, reprice all of this zone, and you can see even this high lines up with the open of this. So this is where the selling started. This is where the buying actually really started from here. We mitigated this, prices come in, pumped more orders, and then we kind of pumped up. So again, for me, this is still a valid zone. I would definitely take this up into the highs if you were going to potentially take this. We are bullish, so that is valid. But I equally think if price fails this zone, we could run this London low and maybe come dig into here, which is probably going to be my preferred area of interest. But again, there's been zones down here which didn't get tested and things. So just because I think there's going to be a test doesn't mean there actually is. So again, this for me, I'm looking as technically still valid. We could do the same thing. We could run the lows. Again, we have that one final sweep of everything. We break the structures, look for a pullback, and then we run these highs. If we did run these highs, I would maybe like to see some sort of down move. But again, maybe if we actually break and hold above, then hopefully what we would like to see, if there's a kind of a big sell to buy movement, once we do actually break this structure, we can then look to trade off this zone pullbacks and then just those continuations. And again, just following it until we have a zone which makes sense to us, until we have that break. Okay, cool. Now this zone's being validated, and that means we've probably ran and done a lot of things up here. That means, okay, cool. Now we've broken a major zone. We can just look for the area that caused that, which is something up here, look for our pullbacks, and then our continuations. And we could definitely see all of this whole thing getting ran. So obviously that's too much into the future. I don't want to kind of think about that too much, but it's always nice to kind of see if you can be a couple of steps ahead, just like in chess. Yeah. So that is NAS. At the current point, again, I do want to see what is maybe going to happen, but we will have to see what does. Okay, cool. US 30 again. Yes, I mean, there is some nice things happening. We're bearish. I've spoke about this quite a lot of times in the video, so I'm not talk about it too much. There's a zone, this got raided, this then mitigated this zone in here. Sorry, that's really, really ugly, but this mitigated that zone in here. And then we've been breaking lower, liquidating, and we've been bearish. So what can we identify? We have our accumulation within our high time frame zone that has tested our daily zone, which has swept the high. Amazing. This is why it's really crucial to be kind of looking at Wyckoff, because you'll notice, sorry, that was my speaker, because all of these zones will test some sort of Wyckoff to actually do something. So again, this is your PSY buying climax, second test again, we have that UTAD. This is an invalidation, came down. We're looking for a pullbacks into this zone, which caused this break invalidation. This is your test. This is your UTAD test. Price pulls down. We break structures. Where did price really break the structure from? Well, here, this is where it started really impulsing. So again, we have our wick. A wick again is nothing more than a buy to sell movement. This is nice because we raided all of this liquidity. This is our high, looking for that zone to get tested. What do we get? Boom. Okay. So now we've had an accumulation, we've had a distribution here, and now it's looking like we're having a distribution here. So we have our PSY buying climax, secondary test, you have that UT gets ran with our UTAD. Now I'm just looking for a zone up here, which you can see really nice buy to sells on the hourly that I do want to see get run. But the thing is, are we going to maybe come down, generate more liquidity, maybe not run the low and then go higher, leave some liquidity? Or if we had kind of a confirmed break below here, then I would be looking for buys to actually take everything in here. And this is going to be my final target. So far, though, we are moving bearish, but we do have a lot of liquidity in things. I did want to see a 30-minute zone in here get tested. We didn't get that. That's cool. It doesn't always have to happen. So now I'm really just looking for either, it's kind of like SP 500. I could see the run getting low and then we run higher, or I could see all of this liquidity still getting intact. We run all of this and then we actually break lower, because this is our breaker structure. This is our high. This is our low. So if we break this, then this is going to be that confirmed lower high to take this down further. So let's kind of see and wait and see what happens with this. Euro pound. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to shut my door. Okay. Euro pound is looking quite nice. I was annoyed because I missed a really clean 15-minute entry trade up here. It is what it is, though. Should have, would have, could have. Let me scale down. So we had this last 10-minute imbalance here. I was actually looking, to be honest with you, straight off the whole 15, because the whole 15 didn't get tested. So we had our Asian high come into London. London high swept our Asian high, and then we just basically collapsed. We pulled them back up into this zone. You could have had 2 potential entries on this, and then obviously we see now this is our entry, and then price just died. I was looking for re-entries in and around here. Again, this would have been valid. We didn't meet it. We just kind of died straight through it. So again, we are overall kind of like in a little bit of this range, but we do have this imbalance zone in here, which I'm looking for. And we do actually really have this low, which I maybe could see get run at some point. But again, that's quite far in the future. So far, I'm just going to be looking for this imbalance open on the weekly. You can see here on the weekly, and then maybe see if we can get some continuations. If not, maybe breaking lower back down into 85. But we will have to wait and see what happens with that. So far, what are we doing? We're breaking structures. We're bearish. This is where our break structure happened. We create equal highs. We ran it. Price then came back down. We broke structures, pull back into this zone. Then we started breaking lower again, break structure here, a lot of demand in here, which then got invalidated. And this is now a confirmed lower low. So now we can pull a fib, this our low, this to our high. You can see this is our 50% range. And our fib is set, our 786 is lining up really nicely with this exact imbalance of this 30-minute zone, which I was originally looking for. So this is looking quite nice. We do have this Asian high 87, which I do want to see if we can get run 3 a.m. high. So we had interest rates that came out. Again, this is exactly the same thing as I've basically shown you on every other pair, which is why I think Wyckoff is important. We have our lows, 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 break a structure, looking for a zone that caused that. Again, all of this, as long as you, like I said, as long as you're just identifying the zones, that's really the main thing. So you want to be seeing more than like 3 raids of liquidity. So we have our 1, 2, 3. This is your spring, break a structure, London high, Asian high gets ran. We come slightly test into this zone, but we still have an imbalance in here, which could get tested. Now we have highs in the form of liquidity. So now we're just looking for the test of this spring. So obviously we have a 30-minute zone, which I'm looking for, kind of a 4-hourly zone. What I have done is taken the high and the low of the 4-hourly zone and found the 50% zone, which is here, which we potentially could see get tested. Now, we do have a couple zones that I'm looking for. We could either come into here, which I think is really valid, or what I do think could happen is we could come down, literally just run this slow so slightly, because I feel like a lot of people are going to be taking it off the 30-minute. And then maybe come down, just dig a little bit deeper, just because I feel like it could be a little bit naughty like that, and then push high. So I'm potentially looking for 2 zones. I'm going to be risking 0.5% on each. My first one's going to be the open of the 30-minute zone, and my second one just at the low of here, just in case we do get manipulated and I do have my stop loss, just breathing a little bit more. But I'm really just taking these as a full pullback. So the first one's going to be a 1 to 5, and then the second one's going to be a 1 to 7, just because that is the initial trade entries. That does not mean that I have this original 1 to 5. Let's just say the 1 to 5 gets hit. Let's say price comes down, we do something really nice, we start shifting and invalidating structures. What I do want to see is a pullback into, oops, sorry, let me go back because I did this wrong. If we create that accumulation again, if we do get these break structures, or if we do actually get a real topside heavy pump, if we're generating liquidity, I do want to see a test of these zones again to take this high. So again, that could then mean another entry from around these zones or around here. So hopefully we can actually just follow the trail as this is going up. So that should be quite nice. So that is euro pound. I'm still bearish, but for the time being, just because of this accumulation that's played out, our breaks of structures, we are shifting momentum. This is going to be my major point. If we do actually invalidate the zone, that's going to be really nice, because again, in here you can see this has been a major point in the market of where supply and demand has been created. So again, this is looking potentially quite nice for some buys, but let's wait and see what happens going into next week. Gold, to be honest, I don't think the most amazing setup, but it does look still quite nice. Again, the exact same thing. I keep saying accumulations, raid. This is our major final raid. Prices then coming down, and then we are testing areas of supply and demand. And this is going to be my major target, all of this liquidity to get run. So maybe could see some dollar strength soon. So we have this low, which didn't really test anything other than just kind of came into this imbalance a little bit more. So I do and could maybe see price running a little bit lower. But what I could maybe see price do is, if we do actually get that confirmed breaker structure, I do have maybe a couple zones a little bit higher up, which we could test. So we have this first 30-minute zone in here. Failing that, I do maybe think, because I feel like a lot of people are looking at this, we could either get a test from here, or we could just run it and then come a little bit lower. And if we were to run it, it would make sense, because we would just be filling this last little 15-minute imbalance. So that's really going to be a crucial point. All these two are going to be like crucial areas for me. You could place a limit of both of them and just have it covered for the both. Kind of a little bit like euro pound. That's what I think kind of could do. But so far, this is looking quite nice. Even if you invert it, you can see it's looking quite nice for some buys. But definitely for me, final targets on gold are going to be like 1969. Here, yeah, again 1969. But that equally, this is gold, so we could have some crazy like some crazy annoying run. But again, let's not manifest it. So going into next week, let's kind of see how it plays out. If we do actually start shifting above this high, then I will be looking for shorts from said zones. AUD USD, if I'm going to be honest, nothing really too much that I'm really looking for. Obviously, I'm really waiting for these lows to get run. Again, raiding. We had that one final sweep, and then we started to break structure and invalidate zones. So I do maybe want to see if we could get some sort of pullback, but I feel like that's going to be a big ask at the moment. It really does depend on what dollar wants to do. If dollar does get that deep pullback, we could maybe come and see AUD USD come into these zones. But for the time being, I am just going to maybe sit and wait. I am looking at maybe this zone in here. We have a couple zones in here. But really and truly, if I'm going to be taking high time frame trades, it's going to be somewhere from up here. I'm not really looking too much from these levels. That doesn't mean that price couldn't pull up to then just have a continuation down. So yeah, let's kind of see. One thing I will take into consideration is it took 12 days for the market to get from this low all the way back up to this high. And it's now taken 2 days to basically do more than half of what it took to get up there. So that for me is telling me that price is obviously moving a lot more bearish than it is bullish, which is why obviously with the change of direction things, this is kind of our major shift. Red liquidity could see that nice pullback down, and then hopefully we could maybe see price come down into our daily levels down here, because I've been speaking about this for a while. We could maybe run a little bit deeper, and this could be quite nice because gold and AU is a distributor of gold and stuff, and they correlate quite well. So if gold is kind of really dying off, then potentially AU we could see a massive run, and I'm expecting kind of a bit of a run down into these lows on gold. So that doesn't mean AU maybe couldn't have a run down into these lows. Potentially could see daily imbalance get met, which I would then be looking for maybe off this 15-minute. But again, let's not get too hasty. Again, it is quite nice to see the London high, the New York raids, the breaks of structure. A lot of liquidity also resting in the form of highs of here. So it's going to be quite interesting. Euro USD, last one. We've been bullish, obviously, but now we're bearish. I am looking for, we had raids. This is our final sweep, and we tested some sort of demand in here. That wasn't that clean. Some sort of demand in here. And then we kind of ran and started pushing higher breaking structures. So technically anywhere into the 50% of this is going to be valid. I'm looking for price to come down into here, maybe because this is our 50% range. Or obviously failing that, we could come a little bit deeper, and maybe some XXX USD pairs could have a bit of a melt. What we could see though is, I've noticed Euro USD quite likes the 50% quite a lot. You can see 50% of this low to this high lines up really nicely with my 15-minute zone and my 30-minute zone. This is the zone I potentially called out for last week. So if we do get any sort of pullbacks, I will be looking for this zone to get met. Now, we do have a daily imbalance, which is just here. So what we very much well could do is we could just run our previous daily high, just mitigating and testing this imbalance and then continuing. So I'm potentially looking for the first entry to be over here, just coming into here, and then second entry, just covering this high and kind of all of in here, because this is the demand. So maybe could just cover it a little bit more up here, just because there could be a bit of a test, and then the continuation is lower. That does not mean that price couldn't come in test into a lot of these zones. But if I'm going to be really honest, whenever I see Asian highs, unless it's really on AU because it runs in the AU session, a lot of the Asian highs get run, and especially on gold as well. So this is going to be quite crucial to see what happens, but definitely going to be looking for this zone as a little bit more of a confirmation for me what potentially price wants to do. That is it for the moment. If you guys got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away and I'll help everyone as much as I can. All right, guys.